Hey everybody, it's Miss Stoke here for Language Arts, or you can call it English class, either way. So I had some people asking questions about the Lesson 9 Dropbox for Module 1. So I just wanted to kind of go over it with you. So when you see this little blue thing, that just means we have an assignment to actually turn in. This is not going to be a like quiz. It's like something that you're actually going to have to download the materials and open it, and then you're going to have to actually put in like an essay or something like that, okay? And then you're going to have to click the blue link, and it will actually let you upload your document to that spot, okay? And then you submit it, and then I'll get it to grade, okay? So you won't get an automatic grade on this like you do the quizzes, because this is something that I have to grade. So usually you'll get your grade back within the next 3 days, okay? All right, so I just wanted to show you, usually it'll say digital materials, but for this one I just put use these materials to complete the assignment, okay? So when you click these materials, they'll actually give you like the instructions. Sometimes I'll put a document there to help you, and then you always have a rubric, okay? The rubrics are kind of confusing to read because it's like a big chart, but that is exactly how I grade your assignments. So if you ever wondering like what I'm requiring of you, like what I'll actually be looking for, look at the rubric, okay? Because that is what I use to find people's grades, okay? So I'm going to show you these documents that are in here, okay? First, let's look at, okay, I'll go ahead and show you this one. So I made a document, and it is called Planning and the Prewriting and Planning Sheet for Lesson 9, okay? So I made this because some people were getting a little bit confused. So what I did was I looked ahead at Lesson 15 because I realized that's when the actual Fable is due. So I wanted to see, okay, so what is going to be expected of me whenever we actually turn in the final product, okay? So you can do that too, okay? So you can look ahead, you can kind of read what's going to be expected, and that might help. So I got all the material from lesson 15 and lesson 9, and I kind of meshed it together for you, okay? Because I felt like lesson 9 didn't do a great job of actually telling you what to do. So this is what we can do. You can actually use this document and put all of your answers on here and then turn this document in, okay? I will allow you to turn this document in and I will grade it, okay? So you can just use this. So pre-writing stage, okay, this is like before you ever start brainstorming really for like your outline, like what you want your paper to say, you can pre-write. This is just a time for you to get your ideas together, okay? So you can kind of use the Magic Prison and Cato's Wall to help you understand like fables, okay? That's why we've been reading them, because they give a good idea of like a sort of realistic story that you know, the characters like find a big struggle and a big conflict, like big problems, and then they have to kind of get the consequences of those problems, whether it was because they were really selfish or they were really like self-centered. They usually had some kind of like consequence, right? So then after their consequence, they usually learned their lesson, okay? And that is a perfect example of like what a fable should be, okay? So let's look at this and see what we're gonna do with the Magic Prison and Cato's Wall. This is just for your pre-writing, okay? So if you open up the rubric, it kind of says this. It says, student planning document reflects a clear and accurate understanding of how the two stories are similar and different. Student has brainstormed 6 or more accurate and specific ideas in the story, in this category. So basically, find ways that like either they were both the same because the characters were were going through like problems. Maybe the characters were both kind of selfish, maybe they had consequences, stuff like that, okay? Over here, you can say how they were different, like maybe how the consequences were different, maybe how the characters were learning differently, just stuff like that, okay? Just to help you kind of understand what a fable should be like, okay? That's all this is for. It's just for you to have an understanding of how a fable works, okay? Then it says, student has clearly and carefully reviewed each story and selected several appropriate details that help explain how the two stories are similar and different. Okay, that's what we just talked about. Every detail helps develop the common theme of actions having consequences, okay? So basically you want to realize that fables have a theme, like a lesson, that we can learn that actions, whatever actions we do, they're always going to have consequences, whether it's a good consequence or a bad consequence, okay? Whatever action you do, something's going to happen because of your actions, okay? So you want your details that you list here to kind of talk about that theme, okay, that lesson. So basically, this is my synopsis right here. Your main objective right here is to find details in the stories that support how a fable can have a conflict that ultimately has good or bad consequences for the characters, okay? Give 6 examples of how that bad behavior has caused consequences, okay, for the characters. That's all you're doing right here. You can do 3 in each if that makes it easy for you, okay? 6 total. Then if you scroll down, this is where you actually start planning, okay? Pre-writing was before, now we're planning, okay? So right here, it says that you can choose how you plan, but I'm just helping you out here with an outline, okay? Outlining is super helpful when you're planning because you kind of figure out what you want to write, and then you can kind of go put it into full paragraphs, okay? And you won't be like, I don't know what I'm writing. I'm just kind of writing down random words, okay? So think back. We said each paragraph should have one topic. So that's what I'm trying to help you with here, okay? So create an outline of what you want your fable to be about. This story will be probably about 3 paragraphs long, okay? Here are rubric requirements for lesson 15. So I looked ahead at lesson 15 because I was like, okay, well, what's the fable supposed to include? Because we're kind of planning for that fable, so let's see what it's supposed to be. All right. So the rubric said, student has developed a moral that gives clear, accurate advice about human behavior. That means you're teaching like a lesson. You're teaching a moral, okay? And you want to give people advice about how humans should behave, all right? You want to have characters in your story that are realistic and like we can understand them, like their personality, okay? Because they're probably about to go through something and teach us all a lesson. So we want to understand your character. The student has developed a conflict or a problem that is clearly resolved over the course of the fable. That means whatever your character is about to go through, it needs to have a resolution. That means it needs to all get better, okay? So I'll show you where all that fits in a second. And then the sequence of events is clear, is a clear warning to the reader of the consequences of bad behavior or choices. Okay, so you want how you have a problem and then a resolution to kind of be clear to us, like, hey, if you do this, you're going to have a problem, and then this is going to happen after your problem. Okay? So my synopsis again. Your main objective here in writing your fable is to create a story that shows a character going through a conflict, whether they're struggling with their own selfishness, their own anger, their own jealousy, whatever, okay? They have a conflict, all right? Then you should explain how, because of that problem, that conflict, that they have consequences, whether they're good or they're bad. Your story, the purpose of your story is to teach a lesson. This is going to be that moral that they're talking about, and ultimately like the theme of your story, okay? All right, so this is my outline that I said you can use. All right, you can totally type your outline right here. Just erase what I put and type a couple of details. So an outline does not have to be full paragraphs, okay? You're just writing details, okay? So I put paragraph 1 here. You can change that and put like a main idea for your paragraph. So you could always put like character details or something, okay? And you can kind of give us details about who your character is, like how old they are, where they live, stuff like that, okay? Just kind of introduce us to what's about to happen. Maybe kind of introduce us to their personality, like if they're selfish or something like that, okay? Introduce us to that in paragraph 1. You can do like another detail right here, like just hit enter and it will give you another detail to add, and that is totally fine. Paragraph 2. This is where I thought maybe like if you want to, you can give us more details about the conflict that your character is facing, okay? Like they have a problem because, their behavior is not good, okay? Whether they're selfish or whatever, okay? Then give us details about how this conflict is coming to a resolution, okay? So basically this whole second paragraph can be about your problem or your conflict, okay? You can kind of talk about all of that in the second paragraph, okay? So, like, I guess technically you could say character info right here, okay? You could write that. And then you could do conflict info. All right? You could kind of tell like that's what that whole paragraph is going to be about, the conflict or the problem. And then at the end, give details about how your character has understood their consequences, okay? They are learning from it. So we could do about the lesson is learned, okay? They have learned their lesson, okay? And then give details about that lesson, like teach us about like human behavior, like what can we learn about, whatever lesson it is that you're teaching, okay? Like how can we try to apply that? So that can be your, like, you want to tell the story in a way that it teaches us that, okay? You don't actually want to start telling us this is what you should do in life, but you want to tell the story in a way that that we learn that, okay? And we can kind of make inferences to kind of understand what you're trying to teach us, okay? It doesn't have to be clear as day. It can be implicit into where we're having to make inferences, okay? So use that document, all right? And you can always use your rubric to check, okay? I usually don't even look at that stuff. I just look at the exemplary because that means I'm getting full credit. Okay, high scoring students follow this. Make sure you do these things in this column. Okay, and if you do, you'll get full credit most likely. Okay, so I hope that helps you with lesson 9 Dropbox. Okay, good luck.